Well, good evening everybody, and thank you for tuning in again for the next episode of my Lake District trip. If you missed my last episode, it's really worth checking out. We had some bad experiences with pie. Sad to report the pie was disgusting. And we had some great experiences on the road. We had my first ever twisty corner and my first taste of rain. I'm glad I brought the waterproofs, but I didn't wear my waterproof trousers for that bit. I've learned that lesson now, and from here onwards, a drop of rain, I pull over and I put the waterproofs on. It doesn't get in the way of filming at all, and the joy of editing is I can chop it out. And later on in the episode, I take on Hardknott Pass and nearly fluff it at the top. But first, and because I forgot to put this in episode 1, let's roll the intro and get going with the video. Episode 2, baby. Thanks for everyone for watching episode 1. This one is very similar style. I'll try and let the bike rumble a little bit more, and had a few suggestions about buying a mic while I ride. I've decided to spend some money, and I've got a headset coming, so that will give me crystal clear audio, and it also means that I can chat with my mates as I ride along as well. Because believe it or not, I do have friends that I ride with. When I ride with them, I don't always film it. Partially because of all the stuff we get up to. We're not like murderers, but you don't do stupid speeds on camera. The headset I decided to go with Cardo Pack Talk 2 Plus. That's because I normally only ride with one other person, and my friend India and my friend Jason are both going to buy one, but we never really ride as a 3, and even if we do, I can dial into them all separately, and the price difference between having one other friend and having up to 4 friends is a huge difference. So at this stage, it's not really something I need, as most of my trips are solo. I mentioned Jason there. You guys haven't met Jason yet. Me and Jason got our 125s at the same time when we were 17. We were the only 2 that left our school to do a BTEC in the next town, and the bus was making us late all the time, and we just thought, well, what's the quickest way we can get on the road? The 125. So I went off to my local 125 shop with my granddad actually, and we only went for a look, and by the time I knew it, there was a bike being loaded onto the back of a trailer, and it was coming home with us. So definitely the most spontaneous thing I'd done. I had done a CBT, but I hadn't done any insurance quotes. I didn't really know where I'd going to keep the bike. We managed to shuffle some space, and now it's away in the garage, but at the time, with my 800 quid 125, it was still probably to this day the most spontaneous thing I've done. Now, as I've been sharing some little anecdotes with you, hopefully you've also been watching the road. You can see it's been lovely and scenic. This is the mistake I made. This part of the video is called Don't Bother with the Cumbrian Coast, it's a waste of time. Now, I'm sure there are some lovely places, but the 3 locations I tried to go to on the coast didn't end very well. Here's us arriving at the first one. It all suddenly went a bit one way. Okay, no problem there. You see the big red sign, all vehicles over 5 metres must report to the main gate. The main gate? Why would there be a main gate in the middle of the countryside? It was all getting a bit building site-ish. All the rules were getting stricter. You couldn't just turn around when you wanted. There were big warning signs about visitors reporting to reception. And there it was, the tower of a nuclear power plant. Brilliant. I'd accidentally driven to a nuclear power plant. This is what happens when you just click on a village town on your sat-nav and hope for the best. I soon learnt that it's not like Devon and Cornwall. Let's go to the next coast and see how it went down there, but I could tell you, it wasn't great. Just before we move to the coast, I'll give you some quick fun facts. It was opened in 1956 and is currently being decommissioned. The decommission will finish in 2120, that's 100 years from now, at a cost of more than £70 billion. They have to remove 38,953 fuel rods. That contains uranium and plutonium, and Wokington, the local town, was the first town in the world to receive heat, light and power from atomic energy. Not sorry, I want to hang around. Let's move on. Now we're just approaching what I thought would be a nice little fishing village, maybe with, little fish and chips, maybe a little sandy beach. There was a beach, probably some sand on it, but very quickly I got the sign that I was in the wrong place again. Can you spot the red flags at the end of the road? That normally gives you a big hint. Let's ride up to them and see what that means. Now, I don't think that showed up very clearly on camera, but what that says is this is a military defence firing range. Red flags mean missiles and ammunition can be fired at the sea at any point. Brilliant, what a lovely scenic spot. Another episode of Don't Bother with the Cumbrian Coast. Ah, that's better, isn't it? This is the Castlerig Stone Circle, just outside of Keswick. And fun fact, when the Victorians came here when tourism had been invented, they would hack off a piece of the rock and use it as a souvenir. But after a while, the rocks became visibly damaged, and this became one of the first protected landmarks in the UK to stop people destroying the ancient stones. Pretty cool, isn't it? It was then time for dinner. I went to the Skiddaw Hotel and sat in the restaurant. Woohoo! Very strange, but there were other people in the same room as me, and it was nice to have that sense of community back. I had a lovely burger and a very flat pint. It was then time to go and see the theatre for the evening. I was here for 6 weeks of my work placement. My uni paid for all of my food and travel expenses, as they did for everyone in my year, and it meant I got 6 weeks for free in the Lake District. And then the theatre itself employed me to take all the shows to York, so I went to York for 3 weeks as well. And I got lots of future work out of that, and some great contacts too. Should explain why it's lit up in red. Red means standing by, and right now all theatres are standing by to reopen. I've lost all my work. My pantomime at Christmas is cancelled. That normally gets me through to mid-January, and the only time I've known it being cancelled is when it snows so heavily that the theatre can't open. So, that's a bit boring. Anyway, let's move on.
The next morning.
Good morning, everyone, and we're just checking out the B&B. So we've got the 2 side bags and the main bag loaded up. If you've missed it already, or you're just joining us on the trip, that's holding electrics, that's holding everything soft, including sleeping bag. And these 2 are holding all the camping kit like bowls, cups, stove, gas, etc, etc. There's the camera and helmet setup, there's the air jacket, and there's the bike jacket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on first, then I'll come back upstairs for this. And sooner or later, we'll be packed and ready to go. What's the plan for today? Well, we're doing a lot of mountain passes, which is great. And then towards the evening, we've got to check into the campsite and set up the tent. Background, you can see that long twisting road cutting through the hillside. That's known as the Struggle, and I'll show you how that went now. As you can tell, it was another drizzly day. And the only time I felt the wheel slip was when I was pulling out of the junction. It happened once in my last video as I was leaving the waterfalls, and it did actually happen again when I was leaving my B&B this morning, although I didn't have my camera recording at that stage. Being a top professional that I am, I didn't hit record until I got out onto the main road. I put the bike into rain mode, so I still get all the power, but it smooths the throttle response out, so physically I can still grab the throttle and twist it as quick as I like. But the little electric sensor slows that down in terms of throttle reaction, and I felt that overall I was getting better fuel mileage and I was getting better handling with it in rain mode, and thankfully that makes no difference to the engine noise at all. So we're just carrying on up the Struggle here, and at the top of the Struggle is Hardknott Pass, so we're just going to pop out at the Hardknott Tavern, I don't know what it's called, the Hardknott pub. It seemed quite nice. I nipped in for their loo. You have to go through a lot of bunk beds, communal. I don't know if they have a little inn or something, but not somewhere I'd want to stay, but it looked nice, and the guy who ran it was really friendly. Had a nice chat about the bike for a bit. So then it was time to get onto Hardknott Pass. Now, I'd heard a lot of things about this road, and yes, it was nice, but it was no real different to any of the roads I've been riding in the days before this. It had a few more hills, nice bits of ups and downs, but it wasn't particularly special. Sorry if anyone's really attached to this road. But apart from just going on longer than all the other roads, there was nothing too specific about it, really. It was annoying that I had to do this in the rain. I did get to go over this once again in the dry, but because it was dry, there were all sorts of cyclists, there were Model T Fords everywhere, and there were some really old camper vans in the way as well, so the footage I felt was not worth sharing with you guys because there was so much going on. Throughout the day, we're slowly making our way towards Hardknott Pass. Now I can tell you now Hardknott Pass was something special. I cannot wait to do that again, but before Hardknott Pass, I felt very tired and it was time to go to the spa to refresh. After I'd filled up with fuel, I got back on the bike. If you're wondering how I get on the bike with that big bag on the back, even though the bike itself is quite low, I still have to put my foot through and then sort of hop onto the bike. Normally, I just swing my leg over, but with that bag in the way, it's really difficult to get your leg up and over the bag and back down on the bike, so it's a lot easier to put your foot through. It makes for a funny sight, but I saw this through the day as I regularly stopped at the same places as the big adventure riders. I actually dropped my bandit because my cousin jumped on the back. She got on at a sort of half angle and then shunted her whole weight onto the seat. Now that wasn't something I was expecting, and I'd just taken my feet off the ground to attempt to drive off their driveway, but essentially what happened was she shunted her whole weight and threw me and her and the bandit, which is this old blue motorbike I had, just into the side of her car. So there were no damage to the car, the bandit, just my ego a bit. Managed to lift the bike up, it spluttered back into life, and we were off to the beach. But this is way before my days of even owning a GoPro. I was then faced with two options, left or right. Left comes with lots of warning signs, and right seems to be the easy way out. I had to take the left road, as it's the only one that leads to Hardknott Pass, so I didn't have a choice. Let's go! So I thought the road was getting quite steep. It went down to single track, but it turns out this is actually only about half as steep as Hardknott Pass is. And you might be thinking, but you're on Hardknott Pass now. No, this isn't Hardknott Pass. That, in the distance, is Hardknott Pass. Let me swap to a different camera and I'll give you a bit of a perception of what we're about to go up. Now stay tuned because I no longer refer to this road as Hardknott Pass, I now call it Rainbow Road. Stay tuned and you'll see what happens. Now, I'll just quickly take this opportunity to say, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. All you have to do is hit that massive subscribe button under the video, it helps me so much. Give the video a thumbs up and say if there's anything you want me to change / do in the next video. Hey everyone, this is Hardknott Pass. Now I thought that was steep, but we're about to go up that. Now I should point out I am in first gear and I'm giving the bike all she's got. We are in rain mode so the throttle doesn't snap quite as quick as it normally does. We're just coming up to my first slightly hairy moment, but it's all part of the adventure, isn't it? After I got that out of the way, these tight corners kept coming. There's nothing like this where I live, and you may have heard me say earlier, tight corner. That really was my first experience of a corner that tight on a hill. You don't even get that in London. I have just discovered the zigzag road in Box Hill, and I'm quite keen to go and try that out sometime. Now here's something I wasn't expecting. This is when things got a little tense. Just underneath the arrow, can you see the old camper van? What's he doing on that tight corner? I hope he hasn't broken down. Sorry, I'm not really sure what happened here. This is maybe the reason I don't talk and ride at the same time, but I promise you, I am able to keep a conversation and ride at the same time. I'm basically just idling. You right? Sorry? Oh, right. Sorry?
I have Honda in my car.
Oh, Honda, lovely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very good.
Can you tell them
I later found out this happens all the time. Old people with really old cars thinking they'll get to the top and their engine explodes halfway. Just look at the amount of oil and coolant this guy has sprayed all over the road. And now it was my turn to go through it. Brilliant. How fun. Exactly what I wanted on my first time at Hardknott Pass.
Five minutes later.
So, after calling a recovery company on Mr. Gutentag's behalf, it was time to head towards the campsite. Now, the weather for this evening was saying heavy rains starting at 7 o'clock. I thought there'd be no chance I'd get my tent up and then be in the mood to cook. I have just today, as I record this, gone and brought a fly sheet that attaches to the tent and sits on the entrance of it. That means I can cook under the fly sheet no matter what the weather, and that's thanks to the fantastic advice of the very helpful man I later met at the campsite. Didn't think I'd be in the mood for cooking, as I said earlier, so I decided to swing by a restaurant. The first two were shut, and it's not worth me showing you them. I went to my third choice, the Pheasant Inn. Really lovely, great fish and chips, and it was time to head over to the campsite. Now, it didn't actually rain, so I could have saved myself the budget and stuck with my original plan of buying something at Lidl and just cooking it on my stove. But don't worry, tomorrow night I had 2 steaks, eggs and a pot noodle, so there is some campsite cooking coming up too. Good evening everyone, it's now about dinner time. This is me outside Lidl trying to put my shoe in my tank bag. This is because although casual shoes are amazing, really nice to be able to take your bike boots off at the end of the day and swap into something a bit more relaxing. These ones I brought with me are quite big and don't fold very well. So one thing I'm going to be doing for the next trip is taking some sort of very slim one, maybe not quite Crocs. I do wear Crocs, I think they're highly fashionable, but I do need to get myself a pair of flip-flops, I think. Now the reason I was at Lidl, I needed to pick up something for breakfast. So I got bacon, eggs, baked beans, and I also got 4 cans of cider. They're not for breakfast, that is for the evening once I've set up my tent. And dinner, as I've just mentioned, didn't need to worry about dinner tonight, I already stopped at that restaurant.
Five minutes later.
I'd just arrived at the campsite and I was checking in with the hosts at reception. They pointed me in the right direction and said basically pitch anywhere in the top corner. I've got no off-road skills whatsoever, but I found myself suddenly standing on the pegs and going off rogue into the grass. I can tell the difference between slick tyres and knobbly tyres. I am interested in getting some more off-roading knowledge, so if anyone's got any suggestions of places to go, then please let me know. The BMW off-road skills opens again in winter, so I might book myself on a course, but if you've got anywhere better or anywhere cheaper, please, maybe cheaper would be cool, then feel free to stick it in the comments and suggest it. I don't mind if I'm on a 4-stroke or a big BMW or a Triumph, I'll go with anything really, but it'd be cool to learn some different skills. It was then time to set up the camp. If you'd like to see this all at normal speed and a bit of an explanation of the gear I take and what it looks like when it's folded away and when it's out, then please click my card in the top right corner now. My first ever video actually. Once you've finished watching this video, all you've got to do is click my channel icon under the video player, then go to videos and you'll be able to see all the videos I've made in the past. You also might notice in this sped up footage I am talking to someone. That's because a very nice chap called Stephen, who was in the tent opposite, came over just to have a look at my small setup as he was a fellow biker looking to downsize his tent without losing comfort. Pots and pans, got my cider open, got my gas, pot noodles for tonight. Underneath, cutlery, and then there's lighters and tea bags and a knife, a little water, although very conveniently, there's a water filler. Anyway, that's the kitchen area set up. Got the little seat as well. It's a great little laugh. Here's the little tent. So this is the view inside the tent. We've got the air mattress all filled up. Got our sleeping bag, my jacket, and then I've got my Arai helmet with gloves stuffed in. That's my little pillow, I'll get that out later. And then this is charging station, so that is charging 3 GoPro batteries, and then I've got the dead GoPro there as well. And down the side is empty bags and shoes. And there's my little blower. Ah, so brilliant. Now I've put some proper batteries in it, Now I've put some proper batteries in it, that filled this in seconds. So that's my little setup there. That's the back of the tent, in case you were wondering. So I'm just trying to keep these things cool. I put the bacon on the floor and the beans on the floor, just try and keep them cold, because the grass is quite wet. And the luggage is mainly quite empty now. You see the size of the big bag's gone down a lot. I've stuck that lock on it, but only because it was going to be there. And I thought, well, actually, to put it back on there, I have to unlock it. So I might as well just put it in its proper place through the front wheel. This electric tape is because my official paint protection film didn't arrive in time. So I've just smacked some electric tape on it. So there we are. Done the same up there just in case. It was better to have a sticky tank than a damaged tank. It's a bit awkward to take it off now, but that is strapped under the seat and then tagged off to the rails. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to make a pot noodle later on, and we're just going to chill out for a bit. This is my view from the tent. Nice little fire. Lovely view over there. Obviously this isn't my setup, but the kind chap across the grass said, come over, sit around my fire with me, and he also gave me some of his ciders as well, which is really kind of him. Tried to give him some of mine, he wouldn't take them. What a gent. Thanks very much, Stephen, if you're watching this. I hope you enjoy your new tent, and as mentioned earlier, I brought an awning thanks to your suggestion.
The next morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's the morning of night. No, I'll try that again. Good morning, everyone. It's the morning of day 3. So the tent has been lovely. I'm nice and dry, although it hasn't rained, so that's why I'm dry. Tonight, I think, is quite rainy, so we're going to give that a go. So yeah, met some really nice people at the campsite. They invited me over for their campfire and gave me some cider as well, so that was brilliant. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to wake up for a while, get a cup of tea and make some bacon and beans.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit more awake now. I'm just boiling up some water for my tea, and those milks I borrowed from the, stolen from the B&B, as the ones I was planning to take with me all went out of date before my trip. Bit annoying, didn't realise these things would go out of date, but there we go. With my tea brewing, I thought it was a good time to get the bacon on the go. I'm using this spray oil, brilliant, it tastes right like the real stuff and it can't spill in your bag. Unlike a little bottle of olive oil or a little wodge of butter, there's no way this thing can melt and spill everywhere. And I also keep it in a plastic pouch just in case the bottle starts to get a bit greasy over time. If you take one thing away from this video about solo motorbike camping, and especially cooking, it's that these bottles aren't very reliable. This one got going in the end, but halfway through cooking the bacon it died again, so I had to get out the other bottle. If you've only got one can and this happens to you and you can't heat your dinner up, you're going to be pretty grumpy, so if there's one thing to take away, it's always bring a spare with you. With the bacon and the bean combination finished and served like we're at a 5-star restaurant, that was me set for the day. It feels really strange to start another day in the middle of this episode, so I'm going to call this one a finish early, but I will play you a clip of the only dry and interesting bit I got on Kirkstone Pass. I think earlier I was calling this Honister Pass. Just pretend every time I've said Honister, I've said Kirkstone. And I think I said it was a Ford Model T. It might be, I'm not sure. If you know what car this is, comment below. I only saw it very quickly as I overtook it. Not a lot of places get an overtake in on this road. It was a lot busier than I was expecting it to be. But I think I'm going to call this episode a finish early, and we'll resume next week because it feels strange to start another day and then in 5 minutes I've hit my half-an-hour mark, and that's really as long as I want my videos to be. So I'll show you some of my favourite photos of the day, and thanks for watching episode 2. Episode 3 will be out next Tuesday, and if you haven't seen episode 1 already, and you're watching these in a strange back-to-front order, the link for that will be at the end of this video popping up on the screen. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Helps me out so much, you don't get spammed, and it helps the channel grow. There's some exciting stuff on the way, and if you like this trip, you're definitely going to love my next trip. Thanks to all the people I met on day 2, really nice people, and I'll show you how it went at the campsite tomorrow. And I've got some more footage from the campsite, and some brilliant roads to show you too. Great. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all soon. Bye.